My beautiful roommate's mating season started early now. I can't sleep at night. Jake Miller had always considered himself lucky to land an apartment in the International District of New Earth City, where humans and aliens lived side by side in what the government proudly called harmonious integration, but his luck seemed to have run out 3 weeks ago. When his roommate Kira began acting strange, Kira was a Zolarian species, known throughout the galaxy for their striking beauty and calm demeanor. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, with skin that shimmered like polished copper under certain lights. Her eyes were large and luminous, shifting between shades of violet and gold. Depending on her mood, for elegant horns curved back from her forehead, giving her an almost regal appearance, and her long silver hair fell past her waist in waves that seemed to move with a life of their own. Had been roommates for almost a year now, and Jake had grown comfortable with her presence. She was quiet, respectful, and always paid her half of the rent on time. Their arrangement was purely practical to people sharing expenses in an absurdly expensive city. Nothing more, nothing less. But 3 weeks ago, everything changed. It started with the temperature. Kira had always preferred the apartment warm, but suddenly she was cranking the thermostat up to levels that made Jake feel like he was living inside an oven. When he complained, she apologized profusely and explained that her body was going through seasonal adjustments. Jake didn't think much of it at first. Aliens had different biology after all. Fun came the sound set first. Jake thought he was imagining things, soft clicking noises coming from Kira's room in the middle of the night, a kind of rhythmic chirping that made the walls vibrate. He tried to ignore it, buried his head under pillows, played white noise through his headphones, but nothing worked. The sounds continued. Night after night, growing gradually louder and more insistent. Jake was an engineer at the terraforming plant on the edge of the city. His job required precision and focus, qualities that were rapidly deteriorating thanks to his severe sleep deprivation. He found himself nodding off during meetings, making calculation errors that would have been unthinkable a month ago. His supervisor had already pulled him aside twice to ask if everything was all right. Everything was not all right. In the 18th night of interrupted sleep, Jake finally snapped at 3 in the morning. He stumbled out of his room, bleary-eyed and exhausted. The apartment was sweltering. Kira kept the heat so high now that he had taken to sleeping in just his boxers. He made his way down the hallway toward Kira's room, his hand raised to knock. For his knuckles could connect with the door. It swung open. Kira stood in the doorway, and Jake immediately understood that something was very wrong. Her skin wasn't just shimmering now. It was glowing with an inner light that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. Her eyes blazed pure gold, without a trace of their usual violet. Her silver hair floated around her head as if suspended in water, and the temperature rolling out of her room felt like standing next to a furnace. Jake opened his mouth to speak, but found himself frozen in place. There was something in the air, a scent he couldn't quite identify, sweet and spicy and utterly intoxicating. It made his head spin and his thoughts scatter like leaves in windbeam. Sorry, Kira whispered, her voice deeper than usual with strange harmonics that seemed to resonate in Jake's chest. I tried to suppress it, I really did, but it's happening to Fastwat. Kira, what is happening? Jake managed to ask, though his tongue felt thick and clumsier eyes met his, and he saw something there that made his heart race, a combination of desperation and hunger and something else. Something almost predatory. Mating cycle, she said quietly. It wasn't supposed to start for another 2 months, but the doctors warned me that stress could trigger it early, and with the new immigration laws and the protests and everything happening, she trailed off, her hands clenching and unclenching at her sides. Jake had heard about Solarian mating cycles. Of course, everyone had. They were the subject of countless documentaries, late-night comedy, jokes, and more than a few adult entertainment productions, but he had never actually witnessed one in person. According to what he remembered, Zolarians were normally solitary and reserved, but during their mating cycle, which occurred once every 3 Earth years, they underwent dramatic physiological and behavioral changes. Their body temperature spiked, they emitted powerful pheromones, and they became driven by an overwhelming biological imperative to find a mate. The cycle lasted anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, and during that time, Zolarians were said to be almost impossible to reason with. He didn't want to tell you, Kira continued, her voice breaking slightly. I was embarrassed. I thought I could handle it alone. I contacted the Zalarian Community Center, and they said they could arrange for me to stay at their facility till it passes. But the earliest opening they have is in 5 days. 5 days, Jake repeated the words. Sinking in 5 more days of fizzy? No, it's asking a lot, Kira said quickly. I know you're not sleeping. I can hear you tossing and turning every night. I'll try to be quieter. I'll do whatever you need. I'll stay in my room and lock the door. You can't. Stay here, Jake, interrupted Kira, flinched as if struck. I understand, she said, softly. I'll start packing. I'll find a hotel, or maybe I can sleep at the office. Or no, Jake said, shaking his head. I mean, you can't stay here like this. Look at you, you're burning. Up, you're in pain, anyone can see. That I'm managing, she insisted. But even as she spoke, her body betrayed her. A visible tremor ran through her frame, and she wrapped her arms round herself. Jake sighed, running a hand through his sweat-dampened hair. He was too tired for this, too tired to think properly, too tired to consider all the implications of what he was about to say. Hot. Do you need? He asked. What would actually help you get through? Kira stared at him for a long moment, her glowing eyes searching his face. The pheromones in the air grew stronger, making Jake's skin prickle with a wearing shoe. Don't want to know. She finally said. Trimesh hesitated, then spoke in a rush during the mating cycle. Zalarians need to be near a potential mate. Even if nothing happens physically, the presence alone, the scent, the proximity, it helps regulate our body temperature and calm the biological urges. Without it, we can overheat or become dangerously unstable. You need someone nearby, Jake said. Slow like Kira nodded miserably. At the community center, they pair us with trained companions who understand the process, who know how to help without. It's not what you think it's not. It's just about, she struggled for words, it's about comfort and presence. And trusted. You don't have anyone else. Akira's expression crumpled. My family is back on Zalaria. 3 galaxies away, the few Zalarian friends I have in the city are either already paired or going through their own cycles, and I can't exactly post an ad looking for a human volunteer. She laughed bitterly. Can you imagine? Could imagine actually the tabloids would have a field day. There were already enough tensions between humans and aliens without adding interspecies mating cycles to the mix. How would this work? He asked, ignoring the voice in his head that screamed, this was a terrible idea. What would I have to do? Kira's eyes widened. You would consider helping. May didn't say that yet, Jake replied quickly. I'm just asking hypothetical affity. She said slowly, you would need to spend time in close proximity to me. Your presence would help stabilize my temperature and calm the pheromone production. We could watch movies or talk or just exist in the same space. You wouldn't have to do anything. You were uncomfortable with Zalarians, have very strict consent protocols built into our biology, and this would help you get through the next 5 days until the center has space. It would make it bearable. Kira said yes. Jake looked at her, really looked at her. Despite the glowing skin and the floating hair and the predatory gleam in her eyes, he could still see his roommate, the woman who always did her dishes immediately after using them, who left him notes about sales at the grocery store, who had sat with him on the couch for 3 days straight when he got food poisoning and made sure he stayed hydrated. Was going to regret this. He knew he was going to regret. Soka. He said, ill help. Yakira's expression transformed, relief flooding her features. You mean eat in 2 conditions. Jake held up his fingers first. We establish clear boundaries. Right now we both agree on what's acceptable and what's not, and if either of us feels uncomfortable at any point, we can stop. No questions asked. Kira nodded vigorously, agreed. Absolutely. What is the second condition? You have to explain to my supervisor. Why have been falling asleep at work? Jake said with a tired smile. Because I am not having that conversation for the first time in weeks, Kira laughed. A real, genuine laugh that sounded almost normal, despite everything that was happening. Dalshi Sethi spent the next hour talking through logistics and boundaries. They would spend time together in the common areas of the apartment. Jake would maintain his own bedroom as a private space. Kira would do her best to control the temperature, though she warned it might not be entirely possible, and most importantly, they both acknowledged that this was a temporary arrangement born of necessity. Nothing. Maria's dawn began to break through the windows. Jake finally returned to his room and collapsed onto his bed. He set his alarm for work in 3 hours and closed his eyes. The clicking sounds from Kira's room had stopped, replaced by a peaceful silence. Maybe he would actually get some sleep. Was wrong when Jake woke up 3 hours later. He found Kira in the kitchen attempting to make breakfast her coordinate.